All right. Topic that was brought up Saturday night, Bisping. He brought up something which to me I thought was a little ridiculous, right? He brought up, do you think calf kicks should be illegal? And like coming from like a former fighter, it does sound kind of silly, but I'm curious to get your take, especially with like calf kicks being like such a big part of the game now. And we saw what, Dustin did to Conor. We saw what Munhoz just did to Rivera on Saturday night. So what are your thoughts on like that comment about Bisping and like, do you think calf kick should be illegal?
Yeah, I guess like not being a fighter and not knowing what a calf kick feels like, it's kind of like a silly thing to think that they should be illegal, considering that knees to the head, elbows to the temple, all these different techniques illegal. But I guess like the real question is could it end a person's career? And that they started talking a little bit about I think it was Paul Felder was talking a little bit about the compartment syndrome, where if it goes, since there's so much swelling in such a tiny area, if it goes untreated for too long, it could cause permanent muscle damage. They talked a little bit about the peroneal nerve being right there, and we've seen it with what's his name, Sean O'Malley. His foot just
Yep.
gave out, and same thing with Mike Chandler in Bellator. I forget who he was fighting, but his foot was just giving out on him. He wasn't able to. It was more than hurt, It just wasn't working. It just shut down his leg completely. So, but I think it is something that the UFC should look into. I don't know of any fighter that's had long-term, effects. I mean, I'm sure there are, still soreness, still some issues, but it doesn't prevent them from fighting. It doesn't. It's not, career-ending injury at this point. Well, we haven't seen that happen yet. So I kind of like him though. I think it's an interesting addition to the game that's relatively new, and I think it will kind of spur some more innovation. See, someone's going to have to come up with an answer for it, and then that might create a whole new aspect for the game. So I like him as of right now. But not knowing a whole lot about them, if they're super dangerous, it could end a person's career, then it should be something that a discussion that they should have.
It's so tough in a sport like this. Like you said, with everything else that you can do within a fight, a calf kick, I feel like is just such like a fluid motion that happens within a fight. So to me, it's so tough to say, hey, let's take a look at this and possibly get rid of it, right? When you can elbow someone in the head,
Yeah,
which in a sport when you're actually causing brain trauma and all this stuff, it's like, what would the alternative be? Like you could only kick above the knee, right? Like what I don't
yeah,
know what the alternative would be there. And then like I look at someone like a John Jones who's made his whole career, I would not his whole career, but like that oblique kick, man. Like, how is that not more dangerous than a calf kick? Like
yeah,
to me, I look at that and that should be illegal because you're putting like, I understand you're chopping someone's leg. What Justin Gaethje has done to human beings, people probably aren't walking the same. Don't get me wrong, but that knee, that oblique kick that John Jones does, like that's way more dangerous than a calf kick. I don't know if you agree with that, but
yeah. I think in order of priority, I think that one should be looked at a lot more, just because the nature of knee injuries. There's a pretty poor blood supply to the knee just because there's no muscles. All it is just ligaments and tendons. So it takes a really long time for those injuries to heal. And, you think about a fighting career, they're not super long. You got a pretty short window where you're in your physical prime and you got a good chance to make a run at the belt or make a lot of money. Um, if you're out during those years due to a knee injury, it's devastating to the athletes, and it takes away from the fans too, because you'd be missing out on some good fights. So I think that one, that knee stomp, uh, thing that some fighters do. I think that one should be looked at more closely than the calf kick.
Yeah, and trust me, don't get me wrong. Like, especially now with like no fans in attendance, and we can hear these leg kicks. It's just like it's like a baseball bat hitting your leg. When you got Justin Gaethje, like what he did to Khabib, and obviously Khabib got the win, but you could tell it was hurting him, man. Like these legs, what Dustin did to Conor, right? What Pedro Munhoz just did to Jimmie Rivera. I don't even know how some of these guys are, you know, they probably can't walk for a couple weeks, a month, if that, right? So I know that's like it's been such a big topic with some of the fights that have just happened. And obviously when something like that happens, like Conor McGregor, people are going to talk about it. Dustin utilized those leg kicks so perfectly. We saw Conor utilize those leg kicks perfectly in the Nate Diaz rematch, right? Like it's evolving in this sport. I think Joe Rogan said on his podcast, he said, Benson Henderson was like kind of the first fighter to bring in the leg kicks, and it's just evolved from there. And then you got guys like Justin Gaethje who have made his whole career off leg kicks and literally knocking people out. They're TKOing people with leg kicks. It's the craziest thing I've seen. So I'm curious to see what everyone's reactions are in the comment section. Comment below. What are your thoughts on calf kicks? Do you think they should be illegal? Anything? Curious to hear, because I know that's been such a big topic in MMA. Comment below.